We have seen some of those beneficiaries of those secret accounts included Jordan's King Abdullah, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, Vladimir Putin. Anything standing out?
Sure. This is a different leak from what we've seen before, because, for example, in the case of the Panama Papers, the investigation was based on one offshore provider in Panama. In this case, we have information coming from 14 different service providers and law firms around the world, from many different jurisdictions, from Cyprus to Seychelles to BVI, etc. And so this investigation and this leak really tell us how the system works, and it's not just about how one company operates, but really how offshore finance works across borders. As you mentioned, we have uncovered more than 300 politicians, including country leaders. For sure, you mentioned the King of Jordan, but we also have the current Prime Minister of Czech Republic, the current President of Kenya, and many in Latin America. And what we see is that while many of them were speaking out against corruption and promising to crack down on tax evasion and increase transparency in their country, they were actually setting up shell companies in secrecy jurisdictions to hold assets or to buy real estate. And so this really speaks to the system and how even though in many cases shell companies are not used for illicit purposes, the secrecy that they provide can surely protect these prominent political figures from public scrutiny.
Scilla, I suppose we should point out that the behaviour that we're talking about is not necessarily illegal, right? But, you know, I've seen some of the commentary which says it really, in particular when it comes to the financial services that provided these frameworks, they're really pushing the limitations of what is legal in each jurisdiction. Do you think that this will give rise to a fresh conversation about how the hiding and hoarding of wealth, should be debated within society, and how does it have an effect on potentially the wealth of an entire nation?
Sure. What we've seen is that even though there have been some reforms and attempts in some countries to improve transparency, that has not really been enough, because as you pointed out, some of these providers are not really interested in tackling crimes or potential illegal behavior. Many of them report problems with their clients only after media reports come out and do not do their own due diligence independently. So, and another thing that we've seen is that in the last few years, the system has evolved. For example, even though small tax havens like Bahamas a few years ago decided to crack down on some of the problems that they were seeing in the industry, other countries have come up as some of the biggest players, and this includes the U.S. and some of its states. For example, South Dakota, that according to our analysis based on these 12 million documents, has attracted more than 15 people who have been accused of wrongdoing in their own countries, foreigners, sorry, that had been accused of wrongdoing in their own country, and attracted them to the U.S., helping them set up trusts and secretive shell companies. So we really hope that this investigation can spark a new conversation onto what is still needed to do. We saw today that there were some announcements by authorities in Pakistan, Mexico, Spain, and other countries where officials promised to investigate all the people that appear in these documents. And obviously, this investigation was just released a few hours ago. So we see how in the next few days this will play out.